on, bloody Jorno. It's the season finale, and today it's just me. Now, let me tell you, Bex is.
Hear the laughs, feel the chat, story spinning, imagine that. Life games and a little sass. Quacks and Chats, a bearded Steve podcast. Bearded Steve podcast.
Busy. Bex is busy. Before anyone panics, there's no drama, no fallout. She's just busy today. So it's just me. We're going to run it back through the season. But first, let's do what we always do. And let's talk about the week. Because it's been quite an interesting week. Because it's been a bit of a weird one. We've had a bit of everything, you know? I've been dealing with clients on the Ducket production side of things, which sounds very professional when I say it like that, but in reality it's a mix of editing, messaging, waiting for files, chasing people, then pretending I'm organised. But we move, and to be fair, it's progress. That's the thing I keep reminding myself. It's not perfect, but we're moving, which is all we can really ask for Ducket production. Streaming wise, I've actually gone back to TikTok again. I know, and I'm so sorry for going back to TikTok, but we're also on Twitch. We're chilling over on Twitch, and we're having carnage over on TikTok. So yeah, TikTok, you go live within 30 seconds. Someone's asking what I'm doing with my life, and it's great and it's funny. And I've enjoyed going back without being in an agency. It is great. And then Planet Zoo, like, listen. For someone that's 6 foot, I found out I'm 6'1.5" as well this week, which is heart wrenching. And I'm not 6'2", I'm 6'1.5". But a 6'1.5" tall bearded bloke playing Planet Zoo is not something that you would expect to hear. So, but I didn't also expect to enjoy it as much. But there's just something about sitting there, watching your zoo go into debt, sorting the animals out, doing it with no money, stressing, animals in breaking out, and you're having to go and catch them, putting them back in, and then making sure they're happy. It's great. It's because it tickles every part of my brain. It's calm, cozy. It's a vibe. And the complete opposite of that, of this week, Cyber FC. Absolute chaos. Grown men running around like it's Champions League final. 10-10. If you haven't seen the result, I'm so sorry. But yeah, 10-10. We predicted it as well. Well, that's another topic, and it's very tin-hatty of me. Tinfoil hat of me. But, you know, me and my housemate, Alex, also known as Boredom, I had a couple of beers mixed in it as well, because you can't watch football and not have beers. They go hand in hand. But we drank those for, you know, purely creative direction. And then, to wrap this week off, we did our first ever giveaway, which is a bit mad to think about. Like, this little thing we started is now at the point where we can give stuff away, which is... And the winner was Tom Crispy, one of the people that put a message in about doing Community Corner and asking, what was it? Was it my favourite snack? It was my favourite snack. It's mad to think that we could give something away to him, who's been a major listener from day one, and he's walked away with a Quaxley from Pokemon and an unlimited edition t-shirt, which, when I say limited edition, I literally mean limited edition. I don't even have one, and I'm heartbroken that I haven't got a t-shirt. I've seen it and it looks so good. I'm gonna have to cop one, but it's that limited edition. So Tom, do enjoy that, and thank you again for listening and being one of the 50 followers on TikTok, which is crazy to think that we've got 50 followers, even more now, on TikTok. If you aren't following and you want to be part of the next giveaway, make sure you're following that, because it's crazy. And yeah, when we look back at this season, it's hard to forget what's happened. Like, hard to remember what's happened, because it's a blur when you're this side of the camera. But it's had its moments. We've had our highs, we've had our lows, proper moments. And when you actually think and sit down, a lot has happened. This season, Ducket Productions has become a thing. Crazy to think. And I don't mean that in, yeah, I made a logo and a website kind of way. I mean, it's become real. We've got clients, we've got real expectations, and we've got a product that we've got to try and push and promote and do the very best we can. And that's a very different feeling from just the idea that we had, me and Bex had, because when it's like just that idea on a bit of paper or in a meeting after recording the podcast episode, there's no pressure. You talk about it, plan it, imagine what it could be. It could be like, oh, it's going to be a massive thing. Or you can then go, oh, it's going to be really small. No one's going to need it. But when actually, the second you get that first form through or the first client, I was like, no way. And it changes it. It changes. Now people are trusting me with me and Bex with their content. Now people are paying us. Now it's not, I'll get round to it and I can forget about the clip. I'll put that clip up in a couple of weeks' time. It needs to be done, and it needs to be quick. And I'll be honest, that's a learning curve from needing it to be done now to having that time to be able to, like, oh, cool, I'll decompress and then do this. It's, yeah, crazy. Because I've had moments where I feel on top of it, like, yeah, I've got this, it's working. And then other moments where I'm sat there thinking, what am I actually doing? Am I doing enough? Am I doing this right? Are we outreaching enough? Should I go and put a video out on TikTok? Should I go put a video out on my Instagram that I haven't used in years? Do I make a new Instagram account for a small business? And it's all these thoughts that come rushing in. And then I think that's something no one really talks about when starting something. Everyone shows the wins, but no one shows the actual behind the scenes. The bits where you sat there going, I've got to wait for this file to come through, or chasing someone for the third time, or re-editing something because it's not quite right. It's taking that advice and that constructive criticism from clients and being like, cool, this is how we're going to build and do it differently. And that's the reality of it. And weirdly, I've enjoyed it because it means it's actually happening. It's not just talk anymore. It's movement. Even if it's slow, even if it's messy, it's moving. And I think the biggest thing I've taken from building Ducket this season, progress doesn't look how you expect it to. It's not this big overnight jump. It's the small wins. It's one client, one good edit, one moment where you go, okay, that's worked. And then you build from that. And I'm still at that stage. Me and Bex are still at that stage of the Ducket production building. Still figuring out what I offer, how we offer it, what works best, balancing it with everything else, streaming, podcast, life, all of it. But for the first time, it feels like could actually become what I want it to be. And that's exciting. It's a bit scary, but it's exciting because this time last season, this didn't exist. And now it does. And there's a win. Carrying on from this season, we've now got Bex on board, which is crazy. It baffles me that we've got Bex on board. And I don't think I can talk about this season without properly talking about that. Because if I'm completely honest, I don't think Quacks and Chats looks the same. And I don't think Ducket Production becomes what it is now without her. And that's not me just saying that. That's genuinely looking back at everything, because there was a point I was doing all of this on my own. the podcast, the ideas, trying to keep things moving forward. And it's a lot when it's just you, because everything sits on you. The energy, the direction, the consistency. If something works, it's on you. If something doesn't, it's also on you. And I think there's a point where it could have just stalled. Not fully stopped, but just stayed where it was. This could have been shelved. Ducket Production could have not been formed. But yeah, Bex came in and everything shifted. Not in some big dramatic overnight way, but in a way that made sense. Like, things started clicking. The podcast felt more natural. Conversations flew better. There was more energy, more balance, more moments that you just couldn't plan when you're on your own. And I think this is what made it work, because we're not the same. We don't think the same. We don't react the same. And that's what gives it life. It stopped being me trying to carry something, just like this episode, and became something we're actually building together. And that changed everything, because it wasn't just a podcast either. It spilled into everything. Ideas started coming easier. There was someone to bounce ideas off, where we can be like, oh, how about this? Have we tried looking at this? No. Cool. And it's stuff that I wouldn't have thought of. And it's just so nice. Someone to challenge things as well, and someone to actually build with. I don't think I realised how important that was until it was there, because doing something on your own is one thing, but building with someone else is completely different. It gives direction, it gives longevity, and I think that's what this season became. Not just me trying to make something work, but actually us creating something. And yeah, she's not here today, but that moment makes this right, makes this the right moment to say it. Because it's easy to say when you're both sat there laughing, but when it's just me, looking back at the season properly, that's when you realise it most. Like, even now, it's just me talking again, and I'm kind of like, yeah, it's missing something. I feel like I'm missing something. I've got no one to bounce off, no one to interrupt me. It's too calm, to be honest, and it's too much of me talking, and I don't like it. And I think that says everything, because the difference she's made, it's showing in today's episode. So yeah, credit where it's due. A lot of this has become because of her, and I don't take that lightly. And then when we go back to where the season actually started, it goes back to episode 1, and that was the moment we decided to move over to the camera, so you get to see my ugly mug. Look at it. And at that time, it felt like a massive step, because I was like, yeah, let's add a video, and that levels it up a bit. But looking back now, it was a big moment, because until then, it was just audio. It was me and Mike and whatever came out. And there was a bit of safety in that I could show myself with just audio and not do the nervous hand. I could do the nervous hands with no one seeing it, but now that's gone. No one could judge how I looked, how I reacted. It was just my voice. And then episode 1 hits, camera on, and suddenly it's different, because now it's not just what you're saying, it's you fully. And I remember thinking that at the time. I was like, this feels a bit weird. Like, I stream, I've created content and put it out on multiple platforms, but to sit down and do a podcast where it's a lot more structured, it's baffling. Like, I'm aware of everything, lighting, where I'm sitting, what I'm doing with my hands, my calendar that's out of date. Look at it, it's December 2025, and people have started realising it. So there we go. If you haven't realised that in the background, there we go. That's last year's calendar. If you want to send me a new calendar, let me know. And I think at the start you could probably tell I went back to being stiff and not flowing as much. And it's like, right, the camera's now on. It was the start of the new venture. It felt like going back to season 1, episode 1. But again, once you get past the initial awkwardness, you start settling in and it becomes normal. And what it does is it makes you feel more real. It makes it feel everything more real. Because now people aren't just listening, they're watching. They can see the reactions, the little looks, the moments where something lands or completely doesn't. And 9 times out of 10, it completely doesn't. And that's absolutely fine. And it adds a different layer to it. And it makes it feel like a little less makes it feel less like a podcast and more like you're actually in the room with us. And I think that's what episode 1 really did for the season. It set the tone. It said, we're taking this a bit more seriously now. We're pushing it forward. We're trying to make something bigger than it was before. And yeah, it wasn't perfect. It was a bit awkward at times and a bit figuring out as we go. But that's kind of what this whole season's been. It's been trying things, getting used to them, growing into them. Because again, this time last season, there was no camera, none of that. And now, it's just part of what Quacks and Chats is. And that all started right there, episode 1, camera and all. And not long after episode 1, we brought Real Joker on, or Darren. Oh. And for me, that was a proper moment, because up to that point, it was still very much like a thing from me to you guys and you guys to me. It was our space, our conversations, our community corner. And then suddenly we've got someone else coming into it. And Darren didn't just come into it. He brought chaos, like actual chaos. Trying to record with someone that's living with ADHD. And I live with ADHD, but having someone else that's got ADHD, having that balance was carnage. Like there was so much cut out because it's just, yeah. The kind of energy where you sit there thinking, right, this could go anywhere. And that's what made it good, because it wasn't controlled, it wasn't structured, it was just what happens. And those moments that stick. And I think that episode showed something important, that work outside of, that this works just outside of us. And we can get people in and people will enjoy it. But we can bring someone in with a completely different energy and it still feels like Quacks and Chats. If anything, it just adds to it. And then we had rapid fire questions, which at the time I thought was absolutely great. Quick, sharp, bit of fun. And to be fair, it worked for that episode, and that episode only, because I think it was introduced and retired in the exact same moment. Like start and end of an era all in one, because it's stuck, but it's too much carnage. Especially, I don't think having Darren, real Joker, as the guinea pig for that was a good idea. But this is what the season's been. It's been those little experiments, those chaotic moments that give the season personality. That's what makes you remember it. And I think looking back at that episode, it was the first time I sat there and thought, okay, this has potential. Because if you can bring that in that kind of energy and it still works, you've got something. And that's what Darren brought to it. Chaos. But the right kind of chaos. Then we had Christmas. I think that episode was one of those moments where everything just felt right. Like no pressure, no overthinking, just good energy. Because Christmas naturally brings that anyway. It's that time where everyone's a bit more relaxed, a bit more chaotic, and just a bit more fun. Yeah, that episode, it wasn't perfect. And looking back at it, it really wasn't perfect. But I was enjoying it. The stories, the random tangents, the little moments that didn't make sense but still worked. And it was that quiet Christmas that was really needed. And to think Christmas was 4 months ago. to get to this stage, so much has changed in that 4 months. And I think that's what made it all stand out, because it felt natural and it felt calm. It just felt like me and you a beautiful, great lot, sitting there having a laugh and letting whatever happens happen. And those are the kind of best episodes. It's ones where you're not trying too hard, not forcing anything, and you're just in it. And I remember finishing that one thinking, yeah, that felt good, like properly good, because it reminded me why I did this in the first place. It's not about building something or growing something. It's about those moments where everything just clicks, and ones that I can listen back to constantly with a duvet or a blanket and just be like, because that's what that episode was. After that, we rolled into New Year, and it brings a bit of a different energy, because Christmas was all chaos and fun and the quietness, and then New Year is like, new year, new me. What are we actually doing this? And I think that episode had a bit of that, not in a heavy way, just naturally, because you can't avoid it. You start thinking where you at, what you've done, what you're going to do next. I think for me, it wasn't setting loads of big goals or anything like that. It was just getting a bit of clarity, like, okay, this is what we got. This is what's worked. This is what we enjoy. How do we build on that? And I think that's what made that episode feel like not a reset in a sense of starting again, but a reset in sense of refocusing, because that point of the season I already tried a load of things of new camera, had guests on, had chaotic moments, tried new software, and I was like, right now, how do we make it go forward? And how am I going to move forward personally? And I think that's what carried the rest through for the rest of the season. The mindset of not just doing things for the sake of it, but actually thinking about it, even if it's just a little bit. And I think that's where we started to feel a bit more intentional. Still relaxed, still us, but with that bit more direction behind it. I think that's important, because it shows growth without losing what makes it what it is. And that's the balance that I've started to find. Again, it's not perfect, not massively breakthrough moment or anything like that. Just small shifts, small changes, and a bit more understanding on what we're doing. And sometimes that's all you need, because those small shifts, they add up. Before you know it, it's a completely different place where you started. I think that episode was one of those quiet moments in the season where you just start lining things up a bit more. And then we had a birthday episode, which is crazy. 28. And see, I'm missing Bex going, you're making me feel old. See, I'm just missing that part. Yeah, because when it's your birthday, you naturally you reflect. And what did I do on my birthday? I was starting my new job, so I didn't even get to really enjoy it. But yeah, you start looking and going, all right, where am I? What's changed? What hasn't? What you thought life would look like right now when you were younger. I think that episode had a bit in it, not in a heavy way, but just honest, because I think sometimes there's pressure to have everything figured out by a certain point. Like, you hit a certain age and suddenly, bam, life sorted, you're golden. No, I use the years that you've been here and grow and evolve and develop. And I think that's what the important thing in my brain was this year, was realizing, use the past as building blocks and not just be like, oh, I'm 28 now, I wanted this life and this and this and this. Being like, cool, what have I learned throughout these 28 years? And then you start learning that things aren't perfect. I don't have everything sorted, but at the same time, there's progress, there's movement, and there's things that are happening that weren't happening before. And that's what I've tried to focus on this year. Now, what's missing, but not what's missing, but what's there. Because it's easy to look at everything you haven't done yet, everything you haven't achieved. But if you actually take a step back, there's a lot to be proud of as well. And I think that episode was about finding that balance, being honest about where I'm at, but not getting stuck into it. Still looking forward, still building, still trying to make something out of everything that's going on. And I think that ties into everything else this season as well, because none of this is perfect. The podcast, Ducket, streaming, all of it, it's still a work in progress. But it's moving. And I think that's what that episode really represented. Just taking a moment to acknowledge where I am without losing sight of where I'm trying to go. And I think that's something I'd probably carry forward as well. Because if you don't stop and recognise that every now and then, you just end up chasing the next thing constantly. And you forget to actually appreciate what you build. And I was just having this conversation. You need to stop and go, what have I actually done? What proud things? What things am I proud of? And just taking that time to relax. So yeah, that episode was a bit more personal, but I think it was needed just to reset a bit. And I remind myself what this is all about. After that, we went straight into chaos again. Stinks and Tinks, the ghost episode. And honestly, talking about it, yeah, that was something else. Because it wasn't chaotic in a, haha, this is funny. That was chaotic in everything that could go wrong, did go wrong. Like, genuinely, still struggling with that word. The episode wouldn't record. It kept crashing, things not working, having to start, stuff just not going the way it should. And it just kept happening to the point where you sat there going, what is going on? Like, this is the only episode that I've had this much issue. And the weirdest part of it all was the fact it was about ghosts. Like, all the episodes, for things to start going wrong, it had to be that one. And I swear, the second we stopped talking about the ghost, everything was fine. Like, nothing happened. No internet drops, no connection drops, no stuttering of words, no nothing. Like, I had to record it about 5 times. Me and the beautiful people that are Stinks and Tinks, we had to record it about 5 times because it just kept going wrong. The audio wouldn't show, the camera kept disappearing, everything. But yeah, we stopped talking about the ghost, everything was fine. Which doesn't help with the situation at all, because we were then sat laughing and joking, saying, right, was that bad luck, or was it the ghost? And I think that's what made that episode so memorable. Like, it wasn't just what we were talking about, it was everything around it, the delays, the frustration, the resilience of carrying on recording and trying to make a podcast whilst everything else was on fire. But we laughed at it at the end, and we still laugh about it, because at that point, what else can we do? And I think it was a perfect example at that stage of the podcast, of the season, that's what it was. Like, things not going to plan, still turning into something, still being in a moment, because that episode, we could have written it off. But instead, it's probably one of the ones you remember the most because of how ridiculous it was. And that's the thing with this podcast. Some of the best moments aren't planned. They just happen. You either fight it or you roll with it. And I think that episode, we just rolled with it. And even if it felt like something was rolling with us at the time, but even thinking about that episode, I'm telling you now, I'm getting goosebumps. And back is wanting to shiver. Oh, there we go. Oh, get it out. After all that, we did go quiet, and I'm so thankful for everyone that stuck around, because I took a break, and I think that's something people don't see when they're listening week to week, because from the outside it looks like episodes just stop, but behind that there was something going on. And for me, a lot of it was just life, starting a new job, dealing with the TikTok agency, getting into that routine of job, TikTok agency, podcast, trying to do personal life stuff. And I'm going to be honest, it was taking it out on me, like properly draining. Like I hit a bit of a low patch with it, where everything just felt like effort. Recording, editing, trying to stay consistent, it just felt heavier than it should have. And that's when I've learned to take a step back and just stop. Not because you don't care about it anymore, because I did, and it was always in my mind about Quacks Chats, trying to bring it back. But I just couldn't put content out because it would have been forced, or if it was something that I had to do, and it just took the joy. So we had the break. It wasn't planned in some big strategic way. I wasn't planning to have a mid-season break for nearly a month or 2 months. I just needed it. I needed a chance to reset, get my head straight again, get some energy back, and just step away for a second. I think that's important, because people always talk about consistency, especially in the sphere that we're in. And yeah, it does matter, but so does knowing when to pause. Because if you ever burn yourself out completely, you lose everything that you've been building consistently in the first place. And I think that break helped me realise that. It gave me a bit of clarity again, a bit of space to actually think about everything, what I enjoy, what I want this to be, where it's going. And I think coming out of it, I felt different. Not perfect, not suddenly full of energy at all time. Better, a bit more reset, a bit more baseline. And I'm a bit more ready to actually come back and enjoy it again. And I think that's what matters. Because it wasn't the end of anything, it was just a pause before everything picked back up. We then came back, and I think the best way to describe it, it just felt different. Not in a massive over-the-top way, but in a way where you can tell something had shifted. Because coming back after that break, I didn't want it to feel forced, and I didn't want to just jump straight back in for the sake of it. I wanted to see it feel right again. And I was also so nervous about starting again, because you guys are bloody amazing. And I was just in my mind going, no one's going to come back. You're washed. No one cares. In that time frame where I had that break. And I think that was horrid, because you guys have come back and you absolutely amazing, and I can't thank you all enough. But yeah, we brought Bex in properly at that point, and that's what made it click. Because it wasn't me trying to get back into the rhythm on my own. It was us coming into it together. And that changed energy straight away. It felt lighter, more natural again, more like something that we actually wanted to be doing, not something that we felt that we had to do. And I think that's the difference. You can hear the difference, because the second I start spiraling, you get Bex going, let's bring it up. And there's more life in it again. Like, I can see the fire, and I've got the fire inside again from that. There's been more moments, more of the back and forth that just work. And I think that's what the return really was. It wasn't just, I'm back. It's, we're back. It was, yeah, we've got a bit more understanding, and we're here because we had that time away. But I had that time away and then brought Bex on. I had that reset, coming into it with a bit more clarity, a bit more purpose. Still the same energy, still the same chaos at sometimes, and a bit more, more direction. And I think that's where it really started to feel like this is something we can build, not just something we do week to week, but something that's actually going somewhere. And I think that's what made the return so important, because it wasn't just picking up where we left off, it was stepping into a better version of it. And I think that's something you can only really get after taking a step back and looking at what is going wrong. Because if I didn't have the break, I don't think it would have felt the same. I think I would have carried on my own, without Bex, without a co-host, without the following that we do now. But because I paused, coming back actually meant something. It felt, and I think that's what people feel as well. Well, you guys feel as well as the listeners, that this wasn't just another episode. It was something. It was the start of something again. And I think that's when everything started building properly into what it is now. And from that point, things started moving again properly, because that's where Ducket Production really started taking shape. Because before, it was just an idea. It wasn't even an idea. I can't even remember why it became a thing, but me and Bex were chatting about it, and we were like, that's a business idea. We've got the idea. It was something that I talked to Bex about, something that I wanted to build. But after coming back, it became something I was actually doing, working with clients, editing properly, figuring out what I offer, how I work, and what actually works, and just building it piece by piece by piece. And it's still early, it's still not perfect, and there's still things we're trying to figure out, but it's real now, it exists. There's a big difference from where it was at the start of the season, wasn't even a thought, and now it built and built and built and built in my brain with Bex, and we went, bam, here's the idea, let's do it, let's fully dive in. And it's something that's we're building actively alongside everything else, and I think it ties into everything we've talked about this season, trying things, learning as we go, having moments where it works, moments where it really doesn't, but still moving forward. And then this week we did the giveaway, and for me, that is one of those moments where you actually stop and go, whoa, this has become something. Because giveaways aren't just about giving something away. They're about having people there to give it to. People who are listening, watching, engaging, being part of it. And Tom Crispy, absolute legend. Getting the Quaxley, a limited edition t-shirt that I don't even have, or Bex doesn't even have. That's a moment. That only happens when a community is there. And I think that's probably the biggest thing this season has built. Not just episodes, not just content, but something people are actually part of. And now we're here. Season finale, just me, looking back at everything that's happened this season. From episode 1, moving to the camera, to Darren bringing chaos, to Christmas, New Year, birthday episode, Stinks and Tinks, and everything going wrong. The break, coming back with Bex, building Ducket, the giveaway, all of it. And I think the biggest thing I'll take away from it is that none of this has been perfect, but it's been real. And I think that matters more, because it means there's something to build on, something to grow, something that's actually going to go somewhere. And I think that's where we are right now. Not finished, not fully figured out, but moving. And that's a good place to be. So yeah, that's season 2. And when you actually sit back and look at it, we're nearly 40 minutes in. There's lots has happened. More than I think I realised during the period of this season. If you've been a part of it in any way, listening, watching, supporting, thank you. Genuinely. Because there's a lot of podcasts out there. So the fact you've chosen this one, that means something. And next season, you might notice a few changes, even from the second you hit play. But I'll let you figure that one out. If you want to keep up with everything while we're away, you can check out ducketproduction.co.uk, follow along on our Instagram and TikTok, and get involved in the Discord as well. All of this will be in the description down below. But from now, from me, and from Bex, we'll see you next season. And until then, keep those ducks in a line, and we'll see you in season 3. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching Quacks and Chats with the bearded Steve, a bearded Steve podcast.